trading is recorded. But if your brain were to erase the entire recording and only to remember one thing, it'd be this, okay? 90% success rate for a 15% take profit. I'm sure every single person here says, well, Cezanne, that's ridiculous. Is that a joke? 15% take profit for shitcoins? Who cares, right? Not everybody's trading with 1 ETH per trade, right? 15% take profit, that's ridiculous, right? One swing puts it to 50%. Guess what? You have to think a little bit deeper. And this kind of goes into the point that I was referring and mentioning to Davude, which is something that you learn
Mhm.
later on. And it's at face value, 90% at 15% is BS, right? Because it can get there quickly and you can't even use that take profit for lower size, and it's not enough profit, right? Obviously, if you're playing every single signal, every one, you're putting, zero point 0.4 per trade, and there's no errors. Statistically, you would be profitable, right? You know, just statistically, if you're putting zero point 0.5 per trade and you win 10 trades, you make 0.5, right? Because you make 10%, 0.5 times 10, right? But at face value, I know because a lot of people in legal, they talk about this, and even people outside, they know 15% doesn't mean jack, right? So this is how I personally use it, and this is how you should use it later on. And the people in Illico who have been here for some time, right? The traders who manually trade, this is how they use it as well. So if you know there's a 90% chance of reaching this 50% take profit, what can you do with this information? 90%, right? So let's go into a scenario here, right? Let's say Solareum, I'm going to go through what actually happened in this signal, but I'm just going to throw a scenario to how to play any signal, right? Let's say you were to go take these signals blind, right? Let's say you can see anymore and you were to buy every single signal one by one, or let's say you were to just cherry pick one. How would you play it? I'm going to go through that, right? After that, I'm going to go through the actual case. So let's say Solareum was called right now. At this time, currently, it's 4:37, right? It was called right now as we're speaking on this call. Okay. Let's assume the price was $100, right? Obviously it wasn't, but let's just say the price was $100. Okay. So what information do we have? The caught price is $100. Okay. And by the way, this is Illico's biggest asset. This is the biggest use case in Illico, right? We know the caught price was $100, right? What else do we know? What is another piece of information that you know in Illico? What's this here? 15%. What did I say about 15%? What's the success rate to reach 15%? 90.
90%. Yep.
90. Okay. So we all know that. So what does that mean? That means that no matter what happens, there's a 90% probability of reaching 15%. So again, let's go back in our scenario. If it was caught at $100 and there's a 90% probability for 15% take profit, right? You would say, obviously at face value, well, it says on 50% is BS, right? How do you take advantage of this? If you know there's a 90% chance it'll reach 15%, that means that no matter how much it dips, you know there's a 90% chance it'll reach a certain level. So again, let's say Solareum was caught at $100. Okay, this is how I play it, and this is the best and optimal use case for Illico, other than the indicators. But this is one that we don't talk about. I don't know why, we probably should. But if the price was cut at $100 and we know there's a 15% take profit, so let's say $115, right? We know there's a 90% probability of the price reaching $115, no matter what. No matter what. What can you do with that information? That means you can DCA, right? Or you can wait for the dip. So if this token, Solareum, doesn't immediately hit $115, let's say it goes down to $50. Again, it was cut at $100. Solareum was cut at 100 and it dipped to $50. So that's a 50% dip, right? Now, what is information that everybody in Illico is equipped with, but no one else is? While everybody's panic selling, Everybody's wondering if they should take that 50% loss. What is information that only people in Illico know? It's that there's a 90% chance it'll reach $115. The token just dipped 50%. So let me repeat that. If the price, if let's say Solareum was called at $100 and it dipped to $50, it dipped 50%, everybody would panic sell. Well, not everybody would be panic selling on the way, right? But what information, what is something that only people in Illico would know? Is that no matter how much it dips, there is a 90% probability of it reaching $115. So what do you do? If you bought at the top, you bought at the signal, DCA. You buy a position at $50. Guess what you've just done? You've just done a 2x. And that's the best way to play Illico if you're not going to be relying on these indicators here, right? Let's say these indicators didn't exist, right? These indicators do exist, by the way, right? That a good strategy with Illico is you just wait until it says high, you set it to take profit. But what if it doesn't say high, right? No, Caffeiner just gave an excellent point. It has nothing to do with probability to recover. Well, of course it does, intrinsically by default. It just means if a token is like, what is Illico's success rate? It's 90% for a 15% take profit, right? Well, the scenario I'm giving you is what happens before that 15% take profit. What I mean is before that token reaches 15%, it will dip. It might not dip, but most of the time it will dip. What I'm saying is if there's a 50% dip, 60, if there's a 90% dip, caffeine, that means there's still a 90%. What I'm saying is no matter what happens, regardless, you play Illico's success rate. In your head, when you're looking at a signal and it dips 80%, no matter what, you know that there's a 90% probability of it reaching 50% take profit. And guess what? I'm going to go through this exact case with you. I just wanted to make it as clear as possible and as simple as possible.
And you
Yes.
basically know this because of the algorithm, right? Like every time,
Yes.
this is anytime the. So I'm curious, does the algo push out these contracts to the auto trade and like to all the channels, or does it like push out different? I guess you
Oh,
mentioned earlier that like
yeah.
it filters out for some, right? For some of the
Yeah.
channels, it filters
The
out.
the auto trade only pushes out around 1 out of every 10 signals. It pushes out
Okay,
only the high
gotcha.
success rate ones. There's very
Okay.
specific strategies for the uh,
Sure,
for the auto
sure.
trade. But let me answer. Caffeiner said he says okay. He said he understood. Fantastic. And then he said, what if it becomes a win? If I understand correctly, Caffeiner, again, by the way, for everybody watching, Caffeiner asked a question inside the Discord. I know my screen's not recording that, but he asked a question which says, actually, let me just clarify. Caffeiner, what is your question exactly? It's after it was a win? Are you saying what to do after it reached 15%? What exactly is your question? Let's wait on Caffeiner to answer. And while Caffeiner answers, let me just clarify and lucidize the most optimal strategy. If a coin gets caught at $100, it doesn't matter how much it dips. It doesn't matter if the world gets turned upside down. You know that there's a 90% probability of it reaching 15%, or in this case, $115. So, okay, Caffeiner asked if it dumps right after, like at the signal, like right after the signal. Guess what? Guess what, Caffeiner? Guess what? The answer is the same. So Caffeiner's question was, if the signal instantly dumps to 50%, does that change anything? Absolutely not. Is I give you the same answer I did before. Illico's success rate is backed by over 1,500 data points. So guess what? You could scroll through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of signals to just cross-reference and see the success rate yourself. Now, Caffeiner says you stop loss. Of course, Caffeiner, look, at the end of the day, you need good risk management, right? But guess what? It's like I said before, this is Illico we're talking about, not a regular shitcoin. If you're just trading a regular shitcoin, of course you need to set this. But if you're trading Illico and you're equipped with the information that there's a 90% probability of a token reaching 15%, that means a stop loss pretty much goes up the wazoo. Unless, I mean, of course you could put in worst case scenario. Look, again, everybody has their own strategies, Caffeiner. I'm just giving you the strategy I use, and this is the most dominant and high success rate strategies in Lico. Other people use it as well. It's not, it's not just me. Um, but this is the most used. This is the best strategy to use in Lico if you're not trading with the uh, the actual indicators themselves, right? That's a strategy I personally use. Obviously, I mean, look, risk management is probably one of the things that differentiates a good trader from someone who's inexperienced, right? So of course, 100% caffeine or stop loss is very important. I'm just saying you guys can do what you want with this information, but what matters is that no matter what happens, if a token is caught at $100 and it dips to 50%, so it goes to $50, you know that even if it dipped at 50%, it doesn't matter. Caffeiner gave me the use case where it dipped to 50% after 2 seconds, right? Immediately after. I'm saying it doesn't matter when it dips. I'm saying if it dips before by 50%, it goes to $50. Guess what? You DCA or you buy the dip, and you would be the only one trading that shitcoin that knows that no matter how much it dips, there's a 90% probability it goes to 115. So let's say you played Solareum, you bought $100, it dipped $50. Great, dipped 50%, enter another position. Let's say you put in $10, guess what? You've just made a 2x if it goes to 115. And you know there's a 90% chance of going to 115, right? And I think this is a strategy that should definitely be more marketed to in-house because not many people know. They just see, 15% take profits, 90% success rates, and it's just like, okay, well, it's a good argument, right? Like, what are you supposed to do with 15% take profit in shitcoins, right? At face value, it makes sense. So, anyways, so that's. Does anybody have any other questions about that strategy before I go through? And by the way, any questions you ask, it's very, very beneficial to everybody else because, everybody watches these recordings in their own time after. So like questions that you might have, other people may be wondering that same thing too. So you'd be asking it like for everybody else as well. It'd be super beneficial.
What is the
Yeah,
what do you mean by the caught time? What does that mean like whenever the algo picks up
yeah,
that
exactly,
that token?
exactly. So in this case, it was 5 p.m., 5:08 p.m.
All right, where what is this? Which one is this one? It is
So
Solarium.
yeah, and then I'm
Okay,
just looking at a signal, but I'm referring by caught time. It's whenever the signal was pushed out, pretty much. So what time it was caught. That's what it means.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So with that being said, if there's no questions, I'm going to go through an actual use case, right? Something that actually happened. People in Illico traded, and this is the Solarium use case. And you guys are going to see. Okay, I'm going to see if I can. I don't know if you guys want to watch through my screen, but I'm going to just remember this data. Okay, Solarium recall one. So this is a Solarium signal. Okay, and it was caught at 5:08 p.m. on the 2nd. Right? So let's remember that. Okay, it was cut at 5:08 p.m. on the 2nd. Okay, we're gonna go through what actually happened and what was the best way to play it. So if you go click token link here, it's gonna take you to deck screener. Don't worry, I'm going to share my screen.
Will you be going through what the different terms mean, like the planetary potential, solar potential, galactic, or are these
Yeah,
uh
these trainings are mostly for the use cases. So It's
Okay.
what you would do, how you would play specific signals, how I played my personal signals. It's how other people played signals. What's the optimal? What what are the different strategies for that? Like I'd recommend going through the tutorial, but if you want, I'll stay after this, after the training, and I'll go through it. I'll go through it
Okay.
with you. Okay,
Sounds good.
absolutely. So for this signal, Solarium, by the way, just so you guys can see, it was the time. Okay, it was cut at 5:08 p.m. EST on the second. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to change it to the actual text. Okay. All right. Everybody can see my screen? Yes?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Fantastic. So let's go to 5:08 p.m. on the second, right? So let's go at 5:08 p.m. on the second, and I'm going to show you what the best possible strategy is. And guess what? It's the one I just referred to, right? At 5:08 p.m. So let's go to 5:08. 5:08. Okay, so 5:08 was around here. You guys can see here at the bottom. It went from 5 p.m. 4:54 p.m. to 5:20. So you guys can see 5:20 was here, right? And 5:08. You guys go in the Telegram. It was cut at 5:08 p.m. So it was caught here. Is everybody on the same page? Yes. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happened immediately when the signal got caught? You guys can see immediately that it dipped. It dipped down 22%. It dipped to 22%. Technically, if we go down all the way, okay, just so you guys can see here, it was caught here. Everybody, I don't want to seem like I'm inventing anything. Just so everybody can see, Solarium was caught here at 5:08 p.m. Okay, and it dipped. Let's see how far it dipped. It dipped all the way down to 30%. Okay, just so everybody can understand. All right, Subpar just joined. By the way, Subpar, welcome. Subpar is one of our OGs here. He's been with us for since the first day in Illico. So if anybody has any questions, Subpar's here. By the way, welcome. And anyways, so the strategy I just mentioned was what? It was if a token's caught at $100, and there's a 90% chance it'll reach 15%. So there's a 90% chance it'll reach to $115, no matter what. So if the world goes upside down, we know that there's a 90% chance it'll reach $115, right? Let's assume this is $100, right? This price is $100, okay? We know that there's a 90% chance that it'll reach $115, no matter what, okay? And this is exactly where Illico comes in. The token dipped 30% after the signal. Okay, you guys can see here, it was cut at 5:08 p.m., right? The times here, you guys can see at the bottom, right? You guys can see here, 4:59 to
Mm-hmm.
5:20 p.m. It's here, okay? It immediately dipped to 30%, okay? So what was Illico equipped with? What did the people in Illico knew? What did they know? They knew that regardless of how much it dipped, there was a 90, they were here, minus 30%, by the way, and they knew that there was a 90% probability it was going to reach $115. Let's say this point here, right? Let's say it was caught over here, right? 15%. So 15% was at this level right here. Okay. So the people in the Illico were here. So the signal was down here, down 30%, right? It didn't matter because you knew you were right here at this time here, right? You held, or let's say you didn't buy and you waited for a dip. You knew that regardless of how much it dipped, there was a 90% probability it was going to reach this 15%. So let's say token, again, let's do the old example. It's worth $100 here, right? It goes down 30%, right? So what is it worth now? $70. So the token is now worth $70. Okay, just like for perspective. Okay. It just dipped, but no matter what, you know down here when it's still worth $70, everybody's panicking. People are just selling at a loss. You know that there's a 90% chance it'll reach $115. And guess what that would have been, right? It would have been around this level here. Like we can check exactly. Let's say 15%. This is, I'm going to give you the exact number. You can see the price here, 2.369. So let's see how much you would have actually made if you bought here. 2.369. So here, right? Obviously, nobody can time the dips, right? Let's all be honest here. Like you probably would have been around that 60, 50%, but
Mm-hmm.
you would have known that even if it dipped 30% down here, you would have still known because of Illico's potency, you'd have known that there's a 90% probability that it's going to reach this level here. And that's the best strategy in Illico. That's the most optimal strategy in Illico. It's not to play that 15% take profit at face value. It's to understand that there is a 90% probability of reaching that $115 mark, right? So convert it to price point, that 15% convert it to price point, and then while you're trading, understand that no matter what happens, no matter what, there is a 90% probability of reaching $115 or this level. And guess what? Guess this actually happened, right? I mean, you
How
guys can
long
see
was
for
this?
yourself. How long ago
How
was
long?
this?
Well, yeah. Well, I know. I mean, how long was the time frame between
Not even a day.
the
Not even a day.
what was it, like hours, right?
Yeah,
Like 5, 6 hours, I think
yeah.
I
So
saw on the
yeah, here is, so the signal was caught at 5:08, so around here, around this dip right here, and it took a couple hours for it to not even a day. So you can see it took to go 15%. It took, let's see here, it took like what, not even not even 5, 7 hours, 8 hours.
hmm
But guess what? This is a play that was much more conservative, right? Because the market cap was over, I think, 3 million at this point, right? It's not like a 100K market cap coin, right? It was around 3 million. So,
hmm
you can definitely, like, this is where you can definitely put in a bit more size. And it only took a few hours. And this is your best weapon in Illico. Your strongest weapon. Obviously, other than the actual indicators, like the planetary, solar, galactic, if you're just playing normally, this is your best weapon. It's just understanding that no matter what happens, there's a 90% probability of it reaching a very specific price point. And that's information you can get nowhere on the planet. Only Illico can give you this information. And in this case, guess what? You would have bought here, and let's say you bought at the top, right? Let's say you didn't wait for the dip, you bought at the top. And so you would have DCA'd here at the bottom. Maybe you would have DCA'd at, let's say, 15%. Okay. You would have DCA'd at 15%, maybe a bit more there, or you would have just stayed there. Doesn't really matter. And then it then went right back up to 15% just a few hours later. But it seems like it went up to 100% take profit. So you would have made two. Obviously, you wouldn't have had to sell this high, right? And let's be honest, nobody knows if it's going to go, plus 100% except this solar potential. But really, in this case, for this specific strategy, what you're playing that $115 price point or that 15% take profit. So you're DCAing around here, you're buying here, DCAing around that, I would say that 10, 15% mark, or maybe that 30% mark. It really depends, right? For let's say shorter plays, not shorter plays, but plays that have a lower market cap, right? You could be comfortable with bigger swings, right? Because it obviously has a lower market cap. So in that case, you could have DCA'd a bit lower, right? But you would have made, 40 to 50% profit had you DCA'd. And that is the best strategy in Illico. It's you DCA and you buy the dips because you know that there's a 90% probability of reaching 15% take profit. So right now I just went through. So this is one case of this happening, by the way. I just want to clarify. This is what happened on just one of the signals. But we can go through other cases. I don't know if you guys want to go through. I guess I'll go through another one. I
Yeah, that's
just
fine. I'm more curious. I guess in your experience, what you've seen, how like what the the average time frame is, or if it's even worth considering like an average time frame between
Yeah, that's
when the you know what I mean?
yeah. So we actually have a metric coming out with that. We have a metric
Oh,
telling you that's
perfect,
going to be able to predict
perfect.
what the average time is, and it's going to be like a nice little metric here.
Man,
And
it keeps getting better and better, huh?
yeah, I mean, look, you can ask. Sub parsing is here in the call. I don't know if he's comfortable speaking, but Sub, I don't know if you you want to tell everybody, but he was there from the beta days, and it was an absolute nightmare. Like I can show you guys, like what you can just scroll up. It used to look like this. It used to look like this.
Wow.
Like this is what the old one looks like. You can scroll up, like to see the algorithm has been live for a while. What the hell are you supposed to do with this information? What do you do here? Nothing. That's what the old one. So you can see, we always Illico's always building. If you go to the updates channel, you can see, we've never stopped pushing updates. Now, Caffeiner asked a question: how do you calculate signal indicators value? Well, guess what, Caffeiner? That's the algorithm itself. That's the that's the genesis. This is the Illico main. It's an algorithm, man. It's based on social TA. I mean, of course. I mean, look, if that's the algorithm is it's the algorithm that calculates these values, right? The algorithm calculates based on the social sentiment, right? It's purely this algorithm, Illico's algorithms are purely based on social sentiment. So Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. That's how they're predicted.
And every single signal that it pushes through will always have a 90% chance of minimum 15%
Yeah,
um, uh, up upswing, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. At the very time, like at the time being, this is like our success rate now. Obviously, it'll change. Maybe it might go
Hmm.
higher, but also might go lower. But
Sure, sure.
the success rate has never been, ever been
But
below 85%, ever since we started.
oh, okay, gotcha. And
Never.
how many sample, like what's the sample size?
1500.
1,500. Oh, okay, gotcha. It's is this over a period of basically since the inception of Illoco?
Not even. It's actually less than that. It's since the live version was posted. So every signal. So basically, this isn't the only channel. There's another channel.
Hmm.
It's here. There's other channels. This is the
Hmm.
other. So I know you guys know what Beautiful Princess Disorder is. I know you guys know what Frentech was. Um, there's another
Is
channel.
Frentech even still around? I'm not even.
I don't
I
really deal
haven't.
with that.
I
I think so.
haven't seen one peep of it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really follow much. I know there's some people here in Frentech. I know Wizard is big on Frentech.
Hmm.
Anyways, so let's go through another signal. Look, I'm only gonna pick one more signal unless anybody else here sends me the name of the next signal they want me to go for, right? Because I could go through every single one, right? So it's just unless you want me to go through a specific one. I'm going to try to find one that was not immediately profit. Let's take a look at Gemini. Actually, no, let's do one that did not do. Like I'm trying to
I
find
guess
one that didn't do
I'm
that
I'm
well.
I'm really more just some. I know you said the algorithm is going to be updated with the kind of like a time frame prediction.
Yeah.
I'm really just more like interested in. Do you know what the longest or one of the longest time frames that have gone by until the price has hit that 15%
Only for
markup?
specifically for 15%.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
50% minimum. Let's just say, right?
15% minimum. It's usually always within a day.
Okay.
It's most of the time, 90% of the time, it's even within a few hours.
So okay, so like within a day, 2 days max. Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to know if it was like within hours, days, weeks, months,
I
so
I mean, look, listen, sometimes more often than not, it will happen where it goes to 15% immediately, but it then goes to 30, then 40. then 50, then 60, then 80. These
Hmm.
things happen very quickly. It does happen, of course, yeah. But most, if we were to average it out, it usually happens within, like, the actual average is within a few hours.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like 15%. I know you were saying earlier, like 15%. Who cares, right? Especially in the shitcoin space, right? 15%. Nobody cares about 15%, but everywhere else, 15% is within a few hours, right? Even within days or a week
Yeah,
is incredible, especially with a 90% hit rate.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I was more just so curious. I wasn't
It's a good
just
question. It's a great
yeah.
question. It's a fantastic question
Hmm.
because when you're curious about it, other people also are curious about it. Like these questions are people
Sure.
other, other, sorry, they're questions that other people have as well,
Hmm.
right? Now,
Hmm.
I guess, I mean, yeah, that answers it for the holding time, right? It's
Hmm.
about if it's a few. The average is usually within a few hours, and it depends on the day profit. But with the next update, you're going to see there's going to be a holding time. And there's also, guess what? There's going to be holding times for specific take profits. So let's say you
Hmm.
want 100%, there's going to be an average holding time. If you want 400%, an average holding time. And not only is there going to be an average, it's also going to be relative. So every signal will have a different holding time depending on what take profit is optimal. So you guys hear low risk take profit of 15% here. In the next updates, this will be relative. It's not going to be static. That means it's going to be different. This may change to 30, 40, 50%. Like Illico has many, many more updates to push out. Many more. Like the sky's the limit, right?
Hmm.
But what matters is, does Illico actually work, right? That's why I wanted to go through a signal with you. I think maybe Prime is good. Let's take a look at Prime. When was Prime cut?
Sure. And I did have a question whenever you think it's a good place to
Yeah,
ask
go
it.
ahead. Like while I pull this up, you can ask.
Okay, sure. So, obviously, when from the time that the signal, the algo pushes out the token, um,
Yeah.
and let's say it hits that target, right? Take profit, TP target, and does it stop? Basically, does the predictive model, does that, like, is that where it ends once it hits the target?
Uh, and you're specifically referring to 15%?
50 or any of the targets, really, any of the targets.
Does the predictive model? No. The answer is no.
Basically, so let's say, right, let's say you know it pushes out a signal, right, and then it hits one of the targets, right, one of the indicators, right, the
Yeah.
price point. Let's say it dips and then it hits 15, 50, 100, whatever. Does the uh, does it basically, like, is that where it ends, or
I
have you
get it. I get
seen
it. I get
it?
it. I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. So in that case, okay. So obviously,
Will you still be able to depend on this, on like the original signal, or do you think it's a better idea to just kind of move on, right? Since it's already played out, right?
yeah. So the way you can do it is to just play the numbers game, right? Don't get too emotionally attached. But if let's say this signal said high, right? That means that there's a very high chance of it reaching 400%, right? And then your question is, what do you do after 400%? Well, in reality, you leave, man. Like you don't stay. After that, it's in God's hands, right? You don't
Mhm.
like there's nothing we could. The only thing that Illico has on you now that you have is Illico's success rate for, let's say, a 20x or a 40x, right? And actually, I'm mentioning this, but why don't you take a look at what this new metric? This is a metric for only OGs, by the way. Only OGs have access to this. OGs have access to now. Later on, this will be pushed to the public, but it's in beta. But
Mhm.
you asked what happens after it hits its target. Well, guess what? There's another target. And it's a new metric called the explosive moonshot, and this predicts a 10x. So that's
Mhm.
the next one. But if you're speaking just, you know, in general what to do after it's reached those targets, it's in God's hands. There's
Hmm.
nothing like the rest is on sorry, the rest is in your hands. You know, it's on your research. Illico's done its part, right?
Right.
That's it.
Have you ever seen it push out like multiple? Let's say right. Let's say it pushes out a signal and then it hits it hits the target, right? It hits the target and then let's say the coin immediately actually it won't matter what it does. But have you seen it like repeat multiple signals or not sig sorry repeat multiple signals of the same token?
Of course. That's we call that a recall. Look,
Okay, interesting.
so Netcoin was a recall. You guys can see
Oh, I
here.
see. I see.
Yeah, I went through it. See, Netcoin recall one, and it's still a valid signal.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's any signal that is deemed probable of reaching 15% take profit will be pushed out. It's whatever the algorithm deems. So if the algorithm deems it two, three, four, five, 10 times, it will
Sure.
be the same success rate every single time.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I was just curious.
Guess what? Great question. It's a
Hmm.
fantastic question. So with that being said, let's see here.
I think you're about to
Yeah,
show
I was about to show
as
the.
yeah.
Okay, so let's go through it. So where was I? Was it Prime? I think. Where was Prime? Let's see. I wanted to go at least one more case with you guys. Okay, Prime. Prime is called 3 days ago. Okay, and this is another case of how you would have played, like how being inside Illico would have made you profitable, right? So let's take a look. Prime again. Let's please take notice of the time here. 4:30 a.m. EST, and you guys can just see here if I scroll on it.
Hmm.
Tuesday, December 5th, 4:30 a.m. Okay, just everybody remember this. I'm now going to switch my screen to the actual token itself. Let me go through it, change windows. No, not this. It's not showing my screen. Let's refresh this. Let's go to the actual charts. Actual chart. Okay, there you go. So remember what we said, right? December 5th at 4:30 in the morning, right?
Hmm.
I'm already here. Okay. So December 5th, just so we all can see here the time where it was caught. At the bottom here, you can see the time. December 5th at 4:30 a.m. Right? Everybody's on the same page?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, is there anybody in the training right now that could tell me what the optimal play was with this signal? And let's say you weren't following the indicators, right? Just understanding Illico's 90% success rate, what would have happened here? Now, again, I'm not saying what you would have done. I'm saying if Illico was called right here and then it dipped. As you guys can see, it dipped immediately, right? What would you guys have done? How would you guys have played this, right? Now knowing, now being equipped, knowing that no matter what happens, no matter what, there's a 90% chance that it reaches 15%, which it did on the very top. It did on the very top, 15%. So there's a 90% chance it reaches this take profit here, right? What would you have done? Once again, you would have bought it either here or waited for a small dip as advised, and you would have been down 3%. Of course, you guys, like this is prime, right? This is an $800 million market cap. So everybody here knows at 800 million, there's not really much movement. So you can play this with a heavier bag, right? You know, over an ETH very comfortably, right? But when it dipped, let's say what is it? It dipped, let's say what, 3, 4%. Obviously, these percentages, they're not much, but if you're playing with a heavier bag, right, you don't really, you're not really, you have to put a stop loss. So here you don't really want to take a lot of, we call it drawdown, right? Which is current investment from initial investment. So in this case, you would have done the exact same thing. Buy the book, right? You knew it dipped. You knew it was going to go to $115, 15%. You just go by the book, man. Buy the dip, and then you would have made a bit more profit. In this case, you would have been around 20% profit instead of 15, right? And in this specific case, you would have not hoped for a 20x or even a 2x because the market cap is already at 800 million. So by playing the signal, you already know that we're not going to see a movement anywhere above, 2x because the market cap is already at 800 million. So this was a very conservative play. But guess what? You would have done the same thing. You would have bought, waited for the dip, DCA'd, and then when everybody else was panicking, you would have known that no matter what, there's a 90% chance it goes to 15% take profit. And it didn't end up going there, and it went up even higher, right? So that's pretty much it. We're going to conclude here. We're going to conclude here, and I know a lot of people are going to be interested in the recording. So, are there any other questions? Now, once again, show on lower market cap. Absolutely. Let's show it on lower market cap. Um, let's go with another signal. Let's see here. What was a lower market cap? Because the thing is, caffeine is some like very often the 15% happens quick and it goes, 2x, 3x. So I'm trying to find a signal that did not do those numbers. Let's see here. Let's take a look at this one. Ordinal's inscription bot was on the 5th at 3:23 p.m. So let's see here. And all I'm doing now is I'm trying to find a signal that had this happen. So let's take a look at the 5th. Jesus Christ, not even 3:20 p.m. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So Caffeiner gave a very good point. What happens when there's a lower market cap, right? Excellent question. Excellent question. Let's see here. I'm trying to get the time here. 15:23. Let's see here. 15:23. So right now I'm looking at the ordinals inscription. Okay, yeah, this doesn't even. I mean, I could show you my screen, but you'd see like. Let me just show you. Like this isn't a good example because the beauty of Illico is just that tokens go up 30, 40, 50%, 100%. They don't usually own, they don't stop at 15%, right? And I'm referring to what to do. The only case I'm referring to, guys, is what to do if it doesn't hit 15% immediately. I'm saying that your confidence should be maintained, if not increased, that it's going to reach a certain level. That's what I mean, caffeiner. So it really just is what happens if the token dips, right? What do? You maintain your confidence that it's going to reach 15%, no matter what. So in this case, I mean, look, it was cut right here. If you go to Telegram, it was cut at 3:23 p.m. and it went up immediately to 40%. Obviously, you could say maybe let's assuming this is a buy. Okay, let's just assume, right? It isn't, but let's assume then you would have still hit 20% take profit immediately, right? And then you may say, well, look, Cezanne, it seems like there was a dip. Look, same principle, right? Let's say, like, by the way, the token was caught right here at 15:23, which is 3:23 p.m. EST, right? UST ETC minus 5. And it immediately went to 30. Like, look, caffeine, you can see it was already a win, like, immediately. But let's say you got in a little later. I mean, no, this is not a good example because it immediately went up. It's not a good example. Caffeine, find me one. Can you find me a signal that didn't immediately go up? Because right now, all I'm doing is I'm going through the signals one by one, right? So, like, I can't sit here and tell you I already went through all of them. But let's see here. 11:46 a.m.
Sorry, what are you trying to find?
So basically, Caffeine is trying to get me to do an example where the market cap was not over, 3-4 million.
Oh, gotcha. Is there a do you have it like set to only look or only scrap like tokens within a certain market cap range
No,
within the algo, or is it just
it's
you know
it's from zero
like no limit,
to
no filter?
yeah, it's from zero
Okay,
to a billion.
infinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no because it's based on like I said, it's purely based on social metrics. It has nothing to do with volumetric. Maybe some, but let's take a look at was it Black Jesus coin? Let's see Black Jesus coin. Okay, let's take a look here. So Black Jesus coin. Let's take a look here. So this is one Caffeiner was talking about. It was at 32. Caffeiner, this was called a 32K market cap. Of course you don't put. Of course, anyone saying like obviously you're not really going to be playing with more than like point 0.2, point 0.3. Like you're not really playing that 15% like on like with the market cap this low. But I'll entertain it. Let's entertain it. But obviously, Caffeiner, you don't play anything at 30K unless you have an expectation of it going to at least 3 4x, right? That's extremely risky. But let's do it. Let's go through it. Let's go through Black Jesus. So it was caught at 3:18 a.m. on the 2nd. So let's take a look here. 3:18 a.m. on the 2nd. Let's take a look. All right. Yeah, Caffeiner, I can't even I don't know what to tell you, man. Like this is not the case I'm referring to. Like this was a win. Like there was no dip. There was like
Isn't
this
that the best case scenario?
this is the best case scenario. Like it
Just
was
no
caught.
diff, just straight up.
Illico called it right here, Caffeiner, and it immediately went up 200%. Like
Love it.
there was no dip there. So that's not the case I'm referring to. The case like the only case I'm referring to is regardless of how much a token dips before the 15% is that it will reach 15% 90% of the time. That's it. It's just being equipped with not only the buy signal and the exit signal, but being equipped with the information that there's a 90% probability of hitting 15%. Right? So now this is not even I'm trying to find again all I'm doing now is I'm going through the Telegram trying to find a signal that dipped. Is there a signal that immediately dipped? That's the question. I think there is one. Just I'd have to find it. I don't know, to be honest. Look, anyways, I already went through one. I don't want to sit here in the call and waste everybody's time and go through every single one by one. I'm gonna do one last one. Let's see how it did. I believe Turt was let's see, Turt recall one. Okay, this one here. 6:22 a.m. on the 19th of November. So let's go with the 19th of November at 6:22 a.m. Right? So this is one of the signals in Illico. Let's take a look here. 19th of November. Geez. Okay, so this was a one. This was a 1 month play, right? So this was, you know what? Let's just call it a loss because nobody here's gonna hold for a month. I mean, it was. It looks like it ended up being a win, but let's call it a loss. I'm not gonna go through this this whole thing here, but let's just call it a loss because I mean I think it did go up. Yeah, it went up much later. You guys can see it went up. Yeah, let's just call it. Caffeiner, I need an example, please. One last one before we go. You have one? No? Okay, then we're gonna stop here. Yeah. So basically, I kind of got to the point, the most important one. I know I'm gonna keep the recording going. If there's any other questions, that's subpar. Let me tag this guy. Let me tag him
I
because
guess the only
yeah,
the only question I have is just how to get started, man. It's
how to get
um
absolutely. Well, so
yeah,
first of all, just go through the tutorials one by one.
yeah.
And then after that, use one of the strategies. So either the one I just mentioned, or you just play the planetary highs. And if you're just going to be using that 10%, 15% take profit, don't trade with anything less than zero point 0.5. And then guess what? What do you do if it dips, Davud, and it doesn't hit the 15%? What do? You buy a token at $100 and it dips. What do you do?
Buy more.
Buy more because you know where. So what's the exit? What do you like?
What's the
What
At least 15%.
at
At
least
least 15.
15%. And you know
Yeah,
what's the probability of it reaching 15% no matter what?
90%.
90%. And that's how you play, baby.
I mean, you could even just not even not even be familiar with the other indicators, right? Just with 15%. I mean, you could literally, if it hits the 15%, right, you can just sit like an SL for 5 or 10%, and then just so you're at least walking away with
At
some
least, yeah,
profit, right?
100%.
And then you can just leave it in, right? Then you can just leave in,
Yeah,
right? So no matter what happens, if it goes up, right? If it goes up even more, then you just trail your stop loss, right? I mean,
absolutely.
it's just like
Absolutely.
there's many ways you can
A
play it.
hundred percent. 100%, exactly. So what you're saying translates to me, I'm going to be seeing you in live trading very often playing with Illico. Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Then that's my dream come true, man. All I want is for you to make profits. So you're gonna see,
Does the
yeah,
does the profit track on Telegram, is that like everybody's
everybody has access. Yeah, it's public.
or I guess does it post like everyone's wins, or is it just your own personal wins,
And the
or how does
victories
it?
are the profit tracker is it's a direct correlation of the signal. This is the signal itself.
Oh, okay, so it's tracking the PNL of the signal
Yeah,
itself. Okay, I thought it was tracking the PNL of like the users.
no, no, no. So you can actually track how high a signal went from the cut price and the losses.
Okay, I see. So this is literally just a PNL of the algo.
Exactly,
Gotcha.
exactly. So
Okay.
you have access to everything. Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Um, I was just gonna ask Sub. We have Sub with us. I don't know if you're comfortable. I always do this to you, Sub. But I mean, look.
Yeah,
So how's it going, man?
yeah, it's good, man. How you been?
Good, good. Sub's been with us for a very long time, since the very beginning. He did a very big bet on us. He is one of the lifetime members, and he's been with us for the very beginning. Um, but we actually just pushed like the production like maybe 2 months ago. So would you say, Sub, that your method of trading with Illico has changed and it hasn't been static, right? Like, have you changed your trading methods with Illico? And what is your current trading method, if you don't mind me asking?
You mean
Just
like
so,
change like what throughout the months or like
yeah, throughout
recently?
since the launch of I
Oh
guess
yeah, I mean
ownership.
yeah, it's definitely changed. I heard you talking a bit about the how the UI used to look on some of the signals
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
when you first pivoted to the like coin algo.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. I used to try and play every signal, and I think I'm not sure if you remember.
Oh my God, it was horrible.
There was one point where we had the auto buys on as well.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was basically just buying every signal and basically selling it at like I don't know 10%. So I feel like I've been waiting for more of like those conviction holds, like
yeah.
turret for example. I
And,
think those do quite well.
and through time,
I like those where it kind of dips for a bit, like after a call, and then I find like this, the
boom.
risks there is probably yeah. Like
Yeah.
I think you were trying to find an example. The one me and Jeff uh recently played was MILEI,
Oh, yeah.
MILEI.
Mm,
Yeah,
L
that dipped quite heavily after the call.
Melee. Hold
So
on,
that
let
worked
me
out quite
find it.
well.
Let me show everybody an example. Yeah,
Yeah.
while keep talking about it, I'll try to find it.
No, yeah, I mean I saw it in like within like 2 minutes it just like dipped probably like what, 40%? Not too
Let's
sure, but
let's
dipped
see.
quite a bit, 40, 50%. Sometimes when you get a call and you check the chart and it's pumped like what? It's done like a 5x, then you know that a retrace is coming. So I tend
Yeah,
not to like ape on the first signal.
absolutely.
I usually only ape when the chart looks kind of like static or
Mm,
just yeah,
mm,
or
mm.
just DCA lower. I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So sub is literally saying what this strategy I was talking about before, which is the DCA strategy. It's just knowing that knowing that there is a 90% chance of reaching that 15% profit, you can DCA very comfortably. And that's actually what I told like Sub was talking about the trade that he took with Jeff, and that's literally what I told him to do. I don't know if he did it though, but let me back here. I'm finding the signal that Sub is talking about. 7:36 p.m. on the 6th. Okay, so this was just called.
Yeah, it's quite recent.
Let's see.
It's like 2 days ago.
Let's take a look. Okay. Oh my God. Caffeiner, this is the perfect example. All right. Beautiful. Now, does this not look like a beautiful illegal signal? It was caught at this time here. At this time. Okay. And what is the strategy that we just spoke about this entire time, right? What is the best strategy in Illico, Davud? What would you have done here? It was cut exactly here.
I can't see exactly where because of the little, but I'm guessing it's
It was
right
cut like
around
here.
there.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, and immediately dips.
Immediately dip.
As soon as I can, I go in, right? I go in whenever as soon as I get the chance.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know. There's a 90% chance it's gonna.
There's a 90% chance it's going to reach this number here.
Right. Yeah. So
right.
the lower it
90%.
goes, the better.
Yeah.
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 Obviously, it's not 100% chance, but over time, right? Like out of 100,
Out of
10
100,
trades,
yeah.
50, 100. It's gonna work out in your favor.
Yeah. So Sub actually played this.
Nice.
This was a
Did you
good
get
one.
in? Did you get in like right as the signal hit, or did you wait a little bit until
No,
it
I
dipped?
waited a bit. So I mean, it's kind of like 50-50, right? You wait and then suddenly it
Mhm.
just pumps, or you
Mhm.
wait and it just dips. So I guess this one I
Mhm.
just waited a bit. Yeah, it dipped and then it just, I think like 2x'd.
Yeah.
But
What do
I
you
obviously
think?
I didn't sell
What
at it. I got a
What
bit
do you
greedy.
think? What do you think about a strategy where you have two positions? You can have more, but mainly, at least two. Where the first position you go in as soon as the algo hits, right? As soon as it pushes out a signal, you get in as close to the entry point as you can, and then
Any
you
DCA?
know you and then you just DCA essentially for the second and the third positions, right? If
That's
it
the
keeps
best.
going down,
That is
because
probably the
then
best. That's
because
probably the
then
best.
even if like let's say it pushes out a signal and then it just immediately pumps, right? At least you have a position in, right, that's in profit.
Yeah. That's the best strategy.
Hmm.
That's literally the strategy I was referring to.
But
That's
you
the
Mhm.
do need capital for that. So say if you're like willing to spend 1 ETH, then maybe 0.5 on the first buy and then 0.25 on DCA, would probably be the best strat.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you're paying higher cap, 100%. Like anything over like 10 mil.
I'll be
Mhm.
honest, I don't set a stop loss with these things because
Yeah.
I mean sometimes they wick down 40-50% and then it sells and then it just goes back up. Like
Yeah.
Well,
usually that's the case.
if it's gonna go up, like there's no see in normal trading we're also set stop losses, risk management, all that good stuff, which is which is what you should be following and learning, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to normal trading. But when you like that rule book, right, that playbook kind of gets thrown out the window when you have an algorithm with a 90% hit rate, telling you that no matter how much, even if it dips 90%, right, from the initial
Yeah.
entry point, right, there's a 90% chance it's gonna not only break even, but actually, be at least minimum 15% in profit.
But also shitcoins are so volatile that it just wicks down and hits your stop. And then
That's
yes,
a
Mhm.
I
good
think it
point.
happened to a
I mean,
member, right?
dude,
Faisal?
I
Like
was
Yeah.
I,
It
I,
it it
like
happened. Yeah. Go ahead.
mhm. Well, I
Dude.
was gonna say I literally, I was literally watching the NFP today,
Okay.
non farm payroll from just like with Forex this morning,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's with like the biggest, right, with Nasdaq, with with the Dow Jones, with all these like the biggest biggest markets in the world, right, trillions
Yeah.
of dollars. There's still these crazy wicks, so it's nothing. It's nothing to be. Um, yeah, my point is, it happens with shit coins. It happens with the biggest markets, right? So it's no surprise.
Absolutely. What were you saying, Sub? Oh yeah, but Sub was saying to not play with stop losses, like, and I think that's so
I know it sounds
important.
degenerate, but I think
No, it's good.
I'm just
I wouldn't
mm,
consider it degenerate because you have an algorithm.
Yeah, you have
Because
Illico. Yeah.
it's a different. I mean, you're playing by a different you're playing by different rules, right? Like where most people, that don't have access to an algorithm like Illico, they're playing football, while you are playing soccer, right? It's a totally different ballgame.
And I think that's probably a very important point to note because especially if you're transitioning from NFT or just regular pair trading, B2C, BTC or ETH, USDT trading, you're playing with big amounts and you're playing with a very tight stop loss. Very tight, right? But in shitcoins, it goes out the window just because of volatility.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to account for that is to just use Illico. That's why Sub was saying to not use a stop. Me personally, I don't even use a stop loss either when I trade. I don't think it's something that you should do when using Illico. It's just obviously it depends on the signal. Like if you're putting in like an ETH per play and you're playing higher market cap plays, of course, stop loss would be useful. But most signals, like stop losses don't account for volatility, right? You can't. It doesn't really make sense. It's like Sub was saying, a token can hit your stop loss at 50% and immediately skyrocket back up, right? So that's something that I definitely think people should know is that when you're trading, especially live trading, right? And obviously this only works with illegal because of illegal success rate. Its stop loss is not optimal. But Sub, could you speak a little more to that? You know, at least could you speak about your trading at least in the past week, how that's been for you?
um well, to be honest, I haven't been aping the algorithm as much. Unless I get like a really good entry because I have some I'm basically tied up in other plays right now. So um
Let
if
me
I
guess,
find
Jocoin.
like a really sorry?
Let me guess, Jocoin.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all you posted in your timeline.
Yeah, I've just been DCAing like
Yeah.
just a dip. So when it's funny because like I was gonna ask, ETH shitcoins or like ETH coins in general right now, they're not really doing that well. All the hypes on Solana,
Even
it's kind of one.
ordinals. I don't know if you know, but
Yeah,
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 got a guy who literally made like, I don't know, like he said 7 BNB today just from ETH subscriptions, right? All the things, right? Like ordinals is starting to come back as well. I'm telling you, man, I've been like this market, this pump in the market is affecting every avenue of trading that you can think of, just about.
yeah. I mean, I was gonna ask, like, maybe we see like a can it be applied to other chains? Is what I was gonna say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The
I mean, it's
algo, the
happening with
algo.
Solana.
Like,
Oh, you're talking about the algo.
yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
know.
$1 million question.
I mean, fuck, man. What, you want me to go to depression or what? Let me guess.
No, no. I'm just
I'm
I'm just
kidding.
waiting for the rotation to come back into ETH. Like it's
Well,
like obviously there are ETH coins going like 10x, but it's like most of the meme coins are like down like pretty
oh well, because you're referring
pretty.
to you're referring to the old rotation. I mean, Lico has nothing to do with that, right? Like at the
Yeah,
end,
yeah, I know.
like it's not to discredit that. It's just that like Illico finds you those 50%, 100%, 2, 3, 4, 5 X's, 10, even 10 X's. But after that, man, like a token dies out. So for you're expecting for those huge Joe coin plays or the Pepe runs. those days at the moment, yes, you're absolutely right. Those days, man, for the time being, they're on halt. Right, they're on
So
halt.
that's why I'm waiting for the moonshot one. Just patiently.
Yeah. Oh my God. Speaking to two other people, they said whenever they get they said whenever they get a signal from Illico G features, they get anxious, like in case the moonshot says like hi. That's funny.
What is it like? Do you know the stats for in a month? How many you get?
There's an 86% chance of a 10x.
No, sorry, I mean like how many signals in a month
Oh,
are
almost none. Like in the last 30 days. Actually, no, actually a lot. In the last 30 days, there were five.
yeah, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a lot
If
actually.
you're saying it's a 80, basically a 90% chance of a 10x,
Yeah.
I mean that is that's
That's why
bold,
it's in beta though, sub. My God, please
That's
don't
bold.
put your whole net worth into it. It's still in beta.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing mass recall 20. That's what I'm hearing. So
Oh, I miss the Master Call 20s, man. I miss the
yeah,
20s.
same.
I miss it,
Uh,
man.
Curious, Saison, how is there? Does Telegram have like I think it has push notifications, right? Enabled.
Yeah.
Or you can enable push notifications.
Yeah, you can enable notifications for specific channels, so you can disable them for everything else as well.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not a big Telegram user, so it's nice to know. If only Discord had. Well, I think Discord has as well.
It does. It does
It
have.
does, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It does have. But look, Sub he asked a good question. I'm sure a lot of people want to know where the market's going. Can illegal adapt to the market? Well, let me tell you this. Sub, I'm going to answer the question with another question. Sub has been with us through literally, not even joking, through probably the first week of inception, I would say, in Illico. So he's been with us through all market changes. And to be fair, like, would you say that actually no, because I can't really say this because we only created the shitcoin algo 6 months ago. So, would you say that back then Illico performed well regardless of the market, or how did Illico
What do you
perform?
mean back then? Like what, the NFT days or?
Yeah, let's say because it wasn't just one trade. Actually, no, you're right. Okay, no, let's go after the update. You remember the Gen X 2.0? Like when there was a big
Yeah.
one, it was the algo
I know.
had more signals. Let's start there.
Yeah.
How did it adapt to the market changes? Like, did it?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I mean,
Okay,
was that I'm trying to remember.
it was. You remember around? It's much earlier than Nakamigos. It's around mutant hunts.
Oh, earlier than Nakamigos. Okay. Because that was the one. That was my play.
I saw. Even the team still talks about it. Like, man,
Really?
Sub made a crazy play with that Mass Recall 20.
I'm just waiting for that. I'll be honest. I'm waiting for the next NFT run and just waiting for the next recall 20 so I can shove my entire net worth
Yeah,
into it. That's
it's
that's all I'm waiting for.
it's Davud. If I don't know if you noticed what he's talking about. If you go in the Git book, it's called the illegal use case. Inside the
Let me
Git
see.
book, we had. I don't know if you know this, but we have an NFT trading algorithm too. And Sub comes like all of our OGs. That's because that's what Illico was before, and
Hmm.
it's called the Gen X playbook. And if you go at the first one, and you go and
It's right above the Gen 1, right? Yeah, I
exactly,
see it. Okay.
exactly, and what
Recall system. Which
exactly
one? Which one?
recall system, and you see recalls the game changer.
Yeah.
That's what the subpar is talking about.
Mm,
Wait, so
wow.
speaking of NFTs, I was wondering because the NFT signals they don't come out as much as they used to.
Oh, of
And,
course not.
market's kind of heating up. I'm kind of no, but the market's like there's been some good plays. I was quite surprised the Jack Butcher one wasn't really called by the algo.
It's
That
I'll tell you why.
sorry, no, the Jack Butcher one was called. Sorry, I'm
It was
thinking of a
called
different. It was called. Sorry, I was thinking about a different one, but I think it
the.
was Ducks. Oh, sorry, no. Was it Ducks?
There was
Yeah,
a
yeah. I
mass
think
recall
it was.
recently though.
Yeah, that was Jack Butcher. That was a good one. That was a good one. But I'm just wondering because market's heating up. Pixelmon's done well recently. There's
Yep.
that things like the Pudgy Penguins. I'm just wondering. The
Oh,
Pudgy
there's
Penguins were
dozens,
there.
man. There's dozens
Yeah,
that have popped off. I
Yeah.
know
yeah.
one of the
Heaps.
guys I know.
I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Let me just answer this question first. The reason being is because all resources in terms of servers, like server power, has been
Yeah,
pushed
that's what
to.
I was thinking. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. It's not
Is there
because
a
it's
way to,
from
have both basically up and running at kind of the same capacity?
yeah. I mean, there is a way. It's just all resources are being put into the servers for Gen 1. So like once we reach a certain point, we can then get Gen X running again. Obviously, we need more demand for Gen X too, right? Um, if like obviously if we just have, I mean, it's always going to be up and running, but if there's just 10, 20
Because
people,
I just don't want to miss out on that because I feel like, market's heating up as well. There's a lot to be gained and people could definitely I personally think it's easier to trade NFTs, right? Easier for people mostly to
it's
get
more
in and out
fun
of any.
too as well.
It is more fun as well, yeah.
Yeah,
Coins, they truly go to zero. Like NFTs don't really go to zero as much. Like they
y-
take a while, you'll get a exit pump with Blur, you can dump it to bid. So I feel it's a bit safer.
yeah.
Um,
Look,
I just want to make sure like, we're missing out on.
I think each has its own nuances.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
yeah. If Davu, he's talking about the NFT trading algorithm. It's still running now as we
Hmm.
speak, and all of our OGs have access to it. Actually, if you want, you could still get access to it. It's upon request. Um,
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
but
I'm definitely want to
yeah.
get exposed to as many of these signals.
But let's start. I would
Um,
say start with shitcoins because believe me, you're gonna have 46 different Telegram channels and you won't even know what to look at.
well, I'm happy to start with
Yeah,
with good old crypto because that's how I got into the space. So I'm more than happy to go back to my roots.
absolutely.
Uh, yeah, I'm actually just taking a look at the most recent uh signal with higher that was
The
sent out at this morning.
the
And I'm
which
just
one?
looking at it.
Oh, higher. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. The most recent. Yeah,
Yeah.
That was a risky one, not gonna.
yeah. Very low market cap there.
Yeah, it's like 100. What was it? 50, yeah, 58K.
Yeah,
Those are
Also
the
it's
ones we love the most,
short-lived.
right?
Short-lived.
absolutely.
uh, so yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it. It's like as soon as maybe I'll go to the 1 minute, but
Yeah,
let's
the 1 minute
see.
is what you want to look at.
Yeah, 10:43, and then like within less like within minutes, right? Maybe even less than a minute. It just pumped like 50%.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I mean, these are the ones that obviously like I don't think I could. I mean, like I don't think I could ever catch
Yeah, you don't need
scenarios
to.
like
Yeah, you
this.
don't. Yeah, you don't have to worry about
Right.
this scenario. It's
Right.
very low market cap. You don't, and especially the thing is you don't want to be playing that strategy unless you're playing with a bit more liquidity, but also just
Hmm.
you're playing higher market cap plays, right? Because if you're
Hmm.
just relying for that 15%, like, yes, okay, if you play the dip, you'll get 60, 70, 80%. But really, you're aiming for that 15% take profit. That means you're playing conservative to start with, right? So, recommended
Hmm.
don't play. I personally wouldn't play this strategy anything around that 100K mark. It's very low.
Hmm.
Like if it's at
Hmm.
100K, just follow the indicator, right? Because it's not the only
Hmm.
strategy. You could wait until Galactus says high or Solar says high or
Hmm.
Planetary. If it says high on a higher market cap, that's also a good play as well.
I still got to figure out what those mean.
Yeah, don't worry.
Let's see. Are
It'll.
are, are they in the are they somewhere in the video?
If you see the word high, just buy it, basically.
Just buy. Okay, sounds good. I see high, I buy. Fantastic. Yeah. Good.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. That's
great.
it.
That's great for
Absolutely. Anyways, guys, it was a pleasure. I need to run. And this recording for anybody watching, it will be posted. I'm glad I stayed recording so you guys heard Subpar and Davud's with all the questions, and I'm very happy that we were able to go through these. And recording will be posted on YouTube once again. And thanks for everybody for coming by. I really appreciate it. Davoud, welcome aboard. Make sure just to go through the tutorials. You'll be up and running in no time. And yeah, Subpar, thanks for coming by too. 20, Caffeiner, Proddies. I really appreciate it, guys. And I will see you next week. And let me know if you have any other questions, by the way.
Will do. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
right.
guys.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Have a good one.